New DNA evidence could rewrite established Viking history. The findings highlight that a collection of Norse lands may have been previously settled or at least reached by people from Britain or Ireland. The evidence from the Faroe Islands, where a language derived from Old Norse is spoken, shakes up our understanding of the history of the North Atlantic. Evidence has emerged that people reached the islands by 500 AD, around 350 years before Scandinavians arrived. This early settlement predates the adoption of long-distance sailing innovations made by the Vikings. Researchers found fragments of sheep DNA and chemical residues of sheep feces in the lake sediments on the islands of Eysturoy. These were dated using sophisticated scientific techniques. It was noted that livestock could only have reached the remote archipelago if they were taken there by humans on boats. Dr. William D'Andrea from the Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory, LDEO, at Columbia University in New York said, "You see, the sheep DNA and the biomarkers start all at once. It's like an on-off switch." Lead author Lorelei Curtin, who worked on the research while she was a graduate student at LDEO, said the evidence was effectively the nail in the coffin for the idea that the islands were uninhabited until the 800s. Researchers said the results provided unequivocal evidence of a human presence before the Vikings arrived in the 9th century AD. As well as this, several indirect lines of evidence suggest an earlier occupation of the Faroes by Celtic-speaking people from the British Isles. Dr. D'Andrea told BBC News, "We still really don't know who the people were and why they chose to go to the Faroe Islands, but there are lots of pieces of information that lead us to believe it is very likely there was a population of people from the British Isles." Other pointers include ancient but undated Celtic grave markers across the islands, Celtic place names, historical accounts, and DNA evidence from the people living on the islands. According to medieval texts, the early Irish navigator St Brendan set out across the Atlantic with comrades from 512 to 530 and supposedly found a land dubbed the Isle of the Blessed. Later, in 825 AD, the Irish monk Dequil wrote that some northern islands had been settled by hermits for at least 100 years. It has been speculated that these accounts refer to the Faroe Islands. DNA studies have revealed that people who live on the islands today derive most of their paternal ancestry from Scandinavians, but most of their maternal genetic material from Britons or Irish people. The pattern is repeated in Iceland and has previously been attributed to concubinage, where Norse males abducted Celtic women and transported them to their various strongholds. But it could also be the case that the islands were inhabited when they arrived. The researchers pointed out that the proportion of British or Irish ancestry is much higher in the Faroes than in Iceland. Another team of researchers had previously found cereal grains on Sandoy, which were dated between 300 and 500 years before the arrival of the Norse. Kevin Edwards from the University of Aberdeen, who was co-author of the paper, said, "The new study has produced convincing and exciting evidence of earlier occupation." He said, "Is similar evidence to be found in Iceland, where similar arguments are made for a pre-Norse presence, and for which tantalizingly similar archaeological, pollen analytical and human DNA are forthcoming?" The findings were published in the peer-reviewed journal Communications, Earth and Environment. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and most importantly subscribe. Thank you for watching.